Hey everybody, thanks for dialing in. I've been meaning to make this video for a long time. I know right now you're thinking, what is he talking about? You know what, that's enough jokes. Are you ready to watch this? As the Xtreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we're giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, welcome to the Xtreme channel. My name is Mr. X. We're about extreme lifestyles, extreme collecting, and normally we talk about comics and statues and movies. And for a long time, people have said, Mr. X, I hear you have a watch collection. I want to know what it's about. Well, I am the farthest thing from an expert when it comes to watches, or statues, or comics, or really anything I talk about on my channel. But I did want to do this video because it's been requested multiple times over the last few months. And as you can see, I do have a watch collection, and it's not just these guys in here, but there's some up top. So I'm going to talk all about that today if you're interested in watches. If you're an expert at watches, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of things wrong. So if that's going to bother you, you can go cry to your mom. I'm going to tell you the knowledge that I have, the watches that I have, some watches that I actually want, and why I like collecting watches. God, I keep saying watch too much. Don't say watch. 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 All right, so sitting in front of me, if you've never seen one of these before, this is a watch winder. Yes, it winds watches. So typically you have two different types of watches. To break it down into layman's terms, there are some that are battery powered where you wouldn't need a watch winder, and there are some that use centrifugal force. So actually the motion on your wrist actually helps power and wind the watch. That is where a watch winder comes in very handy. Also, it's a cool display option for it too, almost makes it look like a work of art. And obviously, I don't have 16 hands to put all these different watches on. I keep them in the box, but it's kind of a cool display you can actually use. Now, this video isn't about watch winders, although I think mine's pretty cool. It has 12 in the front, and you actually have like 6 more up top that don't wind, but you can display up there, and we're gonna look at all that. We're gonna look at the different watches today. Now, I collect everything from a $100 watch all the way up to watches in the 5-figure range. Why do I have so many watches? As I said, I'm a collector. I collect comics and statues and watches and body parts, notches on my bedpost. While you may not understand this, because clearly I can't wear these watches very often, and usually you see me wearing this watch, which we're going to talk about as well today. If you've ever collected anything like sneakers or graded comics, stuff you can't actually utilize, then you kind of understand. So anyway, probably the best way to talk about this is I want to throw out some watches that I have my eye on. Just like statues, I'm always looking at the next buy, the next watch, and there's a few I really want. So let's dive into those really quick. So the first one is this Breitling right here. It's a super chromatic 38 ice blue. Now, this is a newer watch, and it is pretty pricey. It's over $10,000. I'm hoping to pick one up sometime next year. I actually don't own any from this brand at this time. Another newer watch, I only own one Citizen. I think I do. No, I don't own any Citizens. Actually, this is a CC3057, part of their green line. I really like this. It's around $1,000. Now, I'm not going to talk about the price points of the watches I own, just the ones I'm looking at least some of them. Then I have a Movado here. I actually own 3 Movados. We're going to look at those. The Bold TR90, kind of a variation of some of the ones I have. More of a simple Rolex. I really like this one here because of the purple, the Oyster Perpetual 39 here. So I have my eye on this. I did find it from a retailer for a very good price, but I'm a little sketchy on the retailer, so I've been holding off. This guy usually goes $8,000 to $10,000, and the retailer has it for like $5,000 or $6,000, so that's usually a big question mark. And I do own a couple Rolexes we will look at. This Omega Speedmaster right here, I just really like this. And while there's a few other companies that do similar watches to this one retails for $3,000 or $4,000, but I think it's definitely worth it. So someday I will pick it up, especially since it's so different. Then the last one is an Invicta. I'm going to talk about Invicta because they get so much love and so much hate. This is a Silver Surfer watch. I actually own a different Invicta Silver Surfer watch we're going to look at. These are long sold out. Hopefully I can find a brand new one day. There's a few different variants of them for colors and straps, but I would really love to pick this up. It's pretty cool in my opinion. All right, so that's what I want to add to this collection. I may have to move some of them out simply for space purposes, but a few of these are pretty cheap, and a few of them have a story behind them as well. So the first nice watch I ever got is actually in here, and I never wear it. It's actually this Seiko right here. I'm a big fan of Seiko. We have a very fancy clock. Actually, let me show you a quick video of the clock upstairs. All right, so back to the watch. The watch itself, it's older right here. I've had it for about 20 years now, I think. And it was the most expensive watch I bought at the time. I think I spent a couple $100 and I thought that was outrageous. Pretty neat. It is an automatic watch, so it self-winds as long as you have perpetual motion to it. And I have given it to my son, but he never wears it, which is the other thing I want to talk about. So right here is an Apple Watch. This is the Apple Watch Ultra, which is the latest watch for outdoors people, which I'm not a huge outdoors guy. I love spending time outdoors, but I don't go deep sea diving or anything like that. I just like having the latest technology. Everyone in my family has Apple Watches. My wife, my 3 kids, and this watch has its own phone line, so I can go out with just this and not a phone line. And not only do I like wearing this, but I have a number of different bands. Here's actually a band display I have, depending on what activity I'm gonna do, whether working out or swimming or getting really dirty, or class it up with a few of the ones like this. But honestly, I'm so torn with this because of the utility of this, how useful it is from notifications, activity tracking. I like wearing this because it is the best. That doesn't give me the opportunity to wear the tens of thousands of dollars of watches in here, unfortunately. So I'm always torn. Now the next big watch I bought was a few years later. My wife actually bought it for me on a cruise. It was this Movado, which I still love to this day. We actually bought matching his and hers. I know these pictures aren't the best, so I'm gonna show you some video of it all at the end. And then I really started getting into watch collecting, and watch collecting is very, very addictive. So I have a number of different brands in here I want to cover. I have a cheap Fossil, I have some really cheap like Olev, which is kind of like almost a knockoff. And for the record, I have bought a knockoff before. I was actually in Beijing and a guy was selling Rolexes for $5 American. I actually bought it as a prop for one of my businesses. And it didn't last very long, I will tell you that. So I have a Fossil, I have 3 different Movados, 2 different Rolexes, I have a Tonino Lamborghini, than just that original Seiko, I have another one. And I have some other ones on my want list that I didn't share with you, I just kind of shared with you the top. But I also have some Invicta stuff. So Invicta is a brand that makes very cheap watches. They're very gaudy, very big, and you can theme to anything, which I think is cool. From sports teams to comic characters, which is what I like. I like my watches to portray some of the things I'm really passionate about. So we'll look at some of those. I have some of my favorite characters and some that just look cool. And Invicta watches retail anywhere from like $80 all the way up to $3,000 or $4,000 sometimes. And I have some on both ends of that. The watch winder here, just so you know, so it is a locking case. And you can open it, give you kind of an idea here, and then also open the top where up here, like I said, I have 6 more watches that don't need to be wound that are actually battery powered or quartz. But I just think it's a cool way in my bedroom to display the watches for my appreciation because nobody else really goes into my bedroom except my wife and I. And I actually have this right in front of those straps that you saw hanging down for the Apple Watch. So depending on the mood of what I'm doing, I will actually consider what watches. For example, when I go to work, I will never wear a Rolex. When you run a company, you don't want to give off that vibe. Another reason, like when I own sports cars, I would never drive those to work. Or honestly, if I'm going into a bad part of town, even if it's a nice night out and I know we're gonna walk a decent amount in a bad part of town, I won't wear a very expensive watch. Which is why I have some of the other ones we're gonna look at that do look nice, but they're a little bit cheaper. And whenever I travel, because I travel quite a bit, I will obviously always take my Apple Watch, and then generally I will take 3 of these watches. I have a portable watch carrier case that actually fits in my laptop bag. But with that, let's just dive in and take a look at some of these. All right, so first let's take a look at the Invicta watches. So I have a Broncos watch. If you're a follower of the channel, you know that I'm a big Broncos fan. As I said, these are very gaudy. Some of them range anywhere from a couple $100 all the way up to a few thousand. This is quartz, so it's battery powered, but I think it's pretty cool. I always wear it on game days. Another one, an old Invicta watch, is actually Lord Vader. So a huge Star Wars fan, especially Darth Vader. I rarely wear this one actually. So it's more of just one to collect. Again, it's by Invicta. One I picked up recently is actually by Super Groupies. It's a couple $100 watch. This is actually, if you can't tell from Berserk, you have the brand of sacrifice, you have the blades. His sword is actually one of the dials. So pretty freaking cool in my opinion. And most of these, the Invictas, we have a few rubber bands, but most of them are metal bands. I'm not a big fan of fabric bands at all. Then we have a giant Silver Surfer watch. So this is also by Invicta. This is pretty cool. Now, this is one years ago. I didn't know where to buy these, so I paid about double retail for this, and nowadays you can get it for about half that price of what I paid. So just like statues, there's always, you want to make sure that you are doing your research before you buy them. Next one is an off-brand Disney Venom watch. I would love to see Invicta do a Venom watch. Like I said, I really like their designs. I know they get a lot of hate because they are cheaper products, but for my purposes, they work very, very well. That also has a rubber band. And then this is a special edition Iron Man watch, obviously. I really like this one. It does have a rubber band, very gaudy, but I almost feel like that's what Tony Stark would wear. That's why I'm a big fan of this one. Then in the winder are more of my dress watches. Now there are some battery powered ones in here that don't technically need to be wound, but you actually have the controls in the winder to turn those off, but they kind of look cool when they are being wound. So starting at the bottom here, this one is one of those watches that I said kind of looks fancy. It's an OLED, very cheap watch, has a little bit of a skeleton feature to it. So skeleton feature means you can see the guts and the inside. So this is something I may wear when I'm going to a bad part of town, and I apologize for the shakiness of the video. And here is another OLED right here. This is a skeleton, so you can see all the inner workings and guts. Kind of cool, in my opinion. There is that original Seiko we were looking at, so my first kind of fancy watch that I bought. Then we have a Fossil watch down here. This is, I'll wear this like if I'm gonna go do some physical work, but I wanna look a little dolled up, if you will. Cheaper watch. Then we have my Movados up top. So 3 different Movados. The one in the middle is the first one I had. I really like less is more on a watch, and I think Movado's accomplished that very well. This one has a few more dials. I do like chain straps. As you can see, there's one on there. But everything else in here, I believe, is a metal strap. Here's a Seiko, moderately priced. It's a Katura, but it automatically sets the time based off of where you're at. And you can do a few modified settings. Tonino's, I've always wanted a Tonino Lamborghini watch, so I finally got, this is their Spider, I believe, the Spider XS, maybe. And I have all these for inventory purposes, obviously, for my insurance company. But I love these. They're just very cool looking. I wouldn't mind picking up another one. Then, of course, I have 2 Rolexes in the middle. First one I ever got was this presidential watch. I've been looking at it for years, and my wife and I finally decided to buy it on a cruise. Now, the diamonds are appearing very yellow. They're not in real life. I think that's some of the lighting that's going across it. I really like the diamond bezel. So that's an older watch. And then the other one is what we call a Datejust. So it's a 2-tone, has a diamond bevel with some sapphires in it as well. I think that's pretty cool. That's kind of my really, really fancy watch. As you see, I'm more partial to silver on watches, but I don't mind some gold trim. And of course, I really like the red face on that. So there you have it. I'm far from an expert, but I really like this kind of display. And for me, something that's pretty cool is I have 2 sons and I have 2 Rolexes. So not only those, but some of the other very expensive watches in the thousands will definitely go to them someday. Probably sooner than later, obviously. Because when I get older, I don't need this many watches. Hell, I don't need this many watches right now. So there you go. Very different video today. You know, as I laid out those corny jokes at the beginning, I should do a segment where I do dad jokes with someone else and we try and make each other laugh. I was really thinking about that. If you want to see that, throw that down in the comments below. If you have any watches, throw any comments about your watches below, because we are still doing a huge statue giveaway. Not a watch giveaway. Although we could, I guess. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Hey, once again, I can't thank you guys enough. This is a very different video. I don't expect it to do very well. So if you tuned in, thank you. Really appreciate it. Hit that like button. That'll help it. Maybe we'll get some other people into the collecting community who were looking for watches and they found weird stuff. I mean me. I'm the weird stuff.